Alright, so we're checking out the EMAX Tinyhawk Lite FPV combo in this video. This is a ready-to-fly kit, comes with the drone and comes with a transmitter, an Express LRS radio, and you get your analog FPV goggles in this complete kit. And it comes at a very budget-friendly price of $159.99. So if you're looking for a way, an entry point into FPV, where you're not really spending a ton of money, this is a really good option, especially because while this does have brushed motors, we will talk about this drone a little bit in more detail in a second. It does have Betaflight on here, and it is analog, standard analog video, so it's nothing proprietary. And this does replace the, I believe, the Easy Pilot ready-to-fly kit that they had for many years, where it had proprietary firmware as their sort of budget option. And you know, a lot of the ready-to-fly kits nowadays from either EMAX or other companies like BGRCParts8 they've been increasing in price over the years. You know, they're in the $250 to $300 range now, which includes everything, of course. But now we have this option here for those, you know, maybe a little bit not wanting to spend too much money on your first starter kit. And of course, you know, you can always start off with a simulator. You know, I put out a video recently on a simulator controller, which was like around $20, you know, and people were complaining that that's too much to spend on FPV, which is kind of, I'm not really sure in terms of an option that's going to be cheaper to get you started in FPV. If anyone knows what options are out there that are under $10, let me know. I mean, I think a simulator to get started for $20 is a pretty reasonable option. But you know, if you want a drone and a controller and a radio and goggles and everything ready to go, you just want to fly, you don't care about simulators, and this is a really good option. So the radio, the transmitter, and the goggles are really similar to previous kits. There's one difference I will talk about here in a second. The radio is the same. This is the same Express LRS controller. It's a pretty good controller here. I actually didn't use it to fly this particular model, so I'm already familiar with this controller. I've flown it with many times. It has a built-in battery in the back here. You can replace an 18650 cell and just charges via USB-C, and just come with all of these instructions here on what the different modes are. Now it does say that it has like this is an old card here for this controller in terms of what the switches are, because it says like D8, D16. This is not FreeSky, this is Express LRS, and the receiver in here is Express LRS, so they need to probably update this. But this is basically just a quick reference card on, like, you know, what the buttons do and everything and the switches. So I would ignore the rest of this here. And they do have stickers here on arming and disarming here, and you got your beginner, intermediate, expert mode over here. And on top you got your beeper, and then you got your flip over mode or turtle mode here on this switch. So this is basically the same as what I've seen on previous kits. And by the way, that controller is 100 milliwatts max, and you can bind it with other drones. So if you want to buy this kit and start off in analog, and you want to buy other drones in the future that are Express LRS, you can bind this controller to those new drones. And I have a video on that one as well. If you wonder where that is, I'll leave me a comment, and I'll send you a link to that if you want to get something like this and get the Express LRS radio. And then if you're buying future drones, you can bind this up with you know, your other new bind and flies with Express LRS built in. And then the goggles has this unique feature where you can take the screen off, and it's got a tripod on here on the bottom. That's the same as before. You use some of these accessories that are included. I think it's this right here. This will go into the top of the radio here. You just pull this little flap back, and then that turns in, you slide that mount in there, and it's got a little GoPro mount here and tripod mount for the screen. So you can then hold the controller in your hand and have the screen on top of the controller. That's for those of you that are using glasses and can't fit your glasses into this opening. This opening is not going to be big enough for most people's glasses, and then you can just use the screen by itself. Now, while this looks the same as I think I've seen in previous versions, I think this screen is a little bit updated. It looks the same, but they no longer have the DVR function. So there used to be a micro SD card slot here in a previous version. So I think to get the price down, they eliminated the DVR functionality, and it's basically just a screen and receiver. You got your same two antenna mounts there, and then the whip antennas are included in this little bag here. But you can use alternative antennas if you want, and I just have a built-in battery, charges via micro USB there, and just have the cables for that. In terms of the rest of the stuff here, you get, I think this is a micro USB cable there for charging the monitor. You get this is the USB charger for the battery for the drone. Get some tools here and spare screws, and I think this USB-C cable here is for charging the radio. All right, so now to the drone. Here it is. We got some 8mm brushed motors. I think they're 0816 size, 40mm HQ propellers. Obviously, there's a brushed flight controller in here, so you got your, it does run Betaflight. I think one of the newer versions, 4.5 something, USB-C port there for accessing your settings. It does have a built-in analog video transmitter. It does switch from 25 milliwatts up to 400 milliwatts, so pretty good range on this one. And the antenna is in a nice place here in the back, so you should have pretty good reception. This here is the Express LRS receiver antenna. You have a Runcam Nano 3 for your camera here, and then very interesting shape here on the way the ducts are. It's kind of flat here and then kind of leans kind of forward here in the front part, although the prop is flat compared to that. It's like angled here, but this is flat. But the rear prop is a little bit higher than the front prop, maybe for better for airflow. Same thing on the other side here. So kind of a unique shape here. And the battery on here is a 1S 750 milliamp hour LiPo, and does use these new EM 2.0 connectors, and you just use these little rubber bands here. It holds it into place. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the drone. I'll put the specs here. It's like 75 millimeters motor to motor. I think it weighs like 47 grams, so not the lightest in the world. You can obviously go from the very, very beginner mode, which is going to be very low rates. It's going to be angle mode, probably flyable for people that aren't used to flying with normal transmitter sticks. Then as you progress from beginner to intermediate to expert mode, the rates do go up in the default settings. Now, for me, as a very experienced pilot, I just put my own rates in here. I flew with my own gear, my own goggles and transmitter that I'm familiar with, just to get an idea what the sort of the maximum performance this would be. And as expected, it is 8mm brushed motors and fairly hefty weight with this big battery on here. So you're not going to be doing a lot of freestyle tricks. Granted, a very, very good pilot might be able to pull off some decent freestyle tricks on this one. I'm sure there's plenty of really good pilots that could, but obviously this is not intended for that. This is for people who are just starting out, don't want to spend a lot of money, $160 to get going, and I doubt those people are going to be ripping this out of the box and flying their bandos and doing all kinds of wild freestyle tricks with this one. This is not for that target audience. This is for people that are flying maybe indoors, just getting started, want something that's crash worthy. I did crash this quite a bit, and it is very robust. You should be able to crash this as a beginner without worry about anything happening to it. The materials that they use, the plastics, the polycarbonate they use on their frames are very robust. So you can, pretty much abuse this as much as you want, and it should hold up. Now, if you do end up breaking this severely and you want to replace it, and you can buy this by itself, I think as a replacement kit with no battery, obviously no transmitter, no goggles. They will have that available on the site eventually. I probably won't link that in the description when this video is released, but probably at some point in the future I'll put that in there when they do release that. But in case it is released on release day, I'll put that in the description, but you can check back later and see what that is like. But yeah, I'm just showing you the flight footage here. I'm just flying it indoors and pretty much trying to go as fast as I can I think the biggest limitation here with brushed motors when you're flying it fast is that it has a lot of momentum, and because it doesn't have the ability to do motor braking, it's kind of hard to turn quickly. So you have to sort of plan for more sliding type turns. It's more like drifting when you're using brushed motors. I haven't flown brushed motors in this way on a beta flight setup in a long time. So it was a little bit difficult to remember the flight characteristics. You can't fly them in the same way as you would fly a brushless motor. And for those of you that do start off on this one here, and then you eventually move on to like a brushless motor whoop, or maybe one of the Tinyhawk freestyle drones, for example, you'll know that it flies really differently on a brushless motor. But the brush motors are still a very good way to learn how the drone will react. And obviously for a beginner, you're not going to really know the difference anyway, because you've never flown anything before. So obviously for those of you that have flown lots of high-end drones, brushless motors, I'm not sure why you would want to buy this anyway. Because obviously you'd probably have a lot of complaints about that, because you've flown something much better that costs hundreds of or thousands of dollars more. That just would not make any sense for this video. So obviously, for someone who's never flown before, I think this is going to be more than adequate, and for the price, I think it's very reasonable. So go ahead and link this down in the video description if you guys want to check it out. That'll do it for this video. Talk to you guys in the next one.